Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to the Piper Report. So the Senate has once again showed its bellicose mentality. Bellicose meaning its eagerness to fight, its eagerness to invade other countries, its eagerness to use war and the threat of war to accomplish its political agenda. Rand Paul, I've always said that Rand Paul is the paragon for how a senator should be like. Whether you agree or disagree with his political philosophy, and he is primarily libertarian. He believes in a minimum government, very small government. He's like his father in many ways. But whether you agree or disagree with his political philosophy, you always know that he is fighting for your basic rights. He is fighting for your basic humanity. So whenever he is arguing a bill, you know that he is arguing that bill to protect your constitutional rights and liberties. These natural rights that we are afforded, not just because we're humans, all humans have natural rights, but also because we are American citizens. And besides natural rights, we have constitutionally protected rights. And he is always there defending it. So that's why I'm always impressed with Rand Paul and Ron Paul. But Rand Paul is the one in the Senate now. Ron Paul is no longer a congressman. So, anyways, he introduced a bill. And the bill he introduced here would basically prevent the president, it could be any president, it doesn't have to be Trump, from unilaterally declaring war by themselves. Now, for those who don't remember maybe government class or don't remember constitutional law, I mean, it depends what classes you took in college or high school, the president cannot actually declare an act of war. He has to go through Congress. And this hasn't been followed for years. I mean, even Reagan didn't follow this either. And more as time progresses, the presidents have even becoming more independent in their war strategies. Congress is there just maybe as a second hand, as a backing to, if need be, acquire political support to help the president or to help the federal government accomplish its war effort. And Rand Paul didn't want that anymore. And the Congress, the Senate, voted no on it. They like things the way they are. Here's the article. The Senate on Wednesday voted down an amendment that would have forced Congress to pass a new law authorizing the U.S. to wage war against ISIS and combat threats overseas. Excuse me. 61 senators voted to reject Rand Paul's amendment to the annual defense spending bill that would have repealed the military authorization passed in the days after the September 11th, 2001 tax and the 2002 authorization for the Iraq war within 6 months. The 6-month window, Paul argued, would be more than enough for Congress to craft a new military authorization. Okay. You're probably wondering why I have all these other website tabs up here. This is the X-Files, so ignore that. But because I want to talk about this. September 11th. What was the subsequent legislation? What was the ramifications of being attacked on 9/11? I will tell you. What passed in the Congress was one of the biggest, most, in terms of violent attack on our constitutional and civil liberties. I am talking, of course, about the Patriot Act. But what we found out is that the Patriot Act wasn't written as a response to 9/11. It was written before 9/11. Congress was just waiting for the right opportunity to actually unleash it, to pass it, to introduce it. That says a lot about the mentality of some of our congressional figures. Not only that, the idea, the goal to not only attack Al-Qaeda, but to go into Iraq was also predated before 9/11. Now, the Iraq War kind of makes sense because, let's face it, we knew that ever since Bush was in office, Bush was going to invade Iraq. His father tried. His father did not get what he wanted. Bush would oversee that operation. So I think we all knew that coming. I was pretty young at the time when that happened. I think I was only like maybe 14 or 15. I wasn't in the politics then, but looking back now, I mean, it's pretty obvious what Bush was going to do. But what this does, this helps delineate the mentality, the type of viewpoints and perceptions that our congressional leaders have. And here's the article it's kind of talking about. Ron Paul, the Patriot Act was written many, many years before 9/11, and the attacks simply provided an opportunity for some people to do what they want to do. Okay, for everyone here, this website, washingtonsblog.com, is very, very good. I recommend checking this out. This is actually the website I use to do my 27-minute false flags video. If you haven't seen this video, I recommend you do. It's an older one, so I know most people haven't seen it yet, my newer subscribers, but I'll put the link in the description. I mean, there's some crazy stuff in here.
In 1954, an Israeli terrorist cell operating in Egypt planted bombs in several buildings, including U.S. diplomatic facilities, then left behind evidence implicating the Arabs as the foreign commander.
Anyways, I'll put that link in the description. Check it out. But this is a very good website. So I will post all these links in the description. So don't worry about that. But anyways, Ron Paul's claims, here is just them backing it up essentially. This and this. U.S. planned attack on Taliban. U.S. attack on Al-Qaeda. I mean, these were... I spelled Al-Qaeda wrong. These were articles from back when. I mean, 2002 here. So... these were popular at the time. And looking back now, these are things that most people don't realize. Most people do presume that the Patriot Act, the unlawful attack of your civil rights and liberties, was a direct correlation to the attacks at 9/11. And don't get me wrong. Everyone was pissed off during 9/11. Everyone voted to go to a war with Al-Qaeda. And I supported that. We were attacked. Now, okay, this brings up the 9/11 truthers, conspiracies. I won't get any of that. I will say that there is evidence that the government was involved. There's also evidence that Israeli was involved and Israeli Mossad was involved. There's evidence that it was Al-Qaeda. I mean, there's evidence indicating different countries and many different groups. So I will not get into the whole 9/11 conspiracy debate here, but either way, the response to 9/11 was justified. Iraq? No, Iraq wasn't. Then we have people like Colin Powell, who lies to the UN to try to garner support to invade Iraq because he guaranteed they had evidence that there was weapons of mass destruction there. Well, as we know, that was bullshit. He just wanted to garner public support at the UN, and he got it. He got it because people follow the U.S. They follow the U.S. blindly, and especially into war. Anyways, I digress here. I'll post these links in the description, but Mr. Paul's right. The Afghan war was planned before 9/11. The decision to launch the Iraq war was made before 9/11. CIA Director George Tenet said the White House wanted to invade Iraq long before 9/11, and sort of crap, blah, blah. I mean, this is a really good website. Very good website. But let's go back to the main article at hand here. Here's what Paul said. For the first time in 15 years, we are debating the congressional role in the declaration of war, Paul said before the vote. We have fought the longest war in U.S. history under an original authorization to go after the people that attacked us on 9/11. That war is long since over. The war has long since lost its purpose, and it is long time that we have a debate in Congress about whether we should be at war or not. Paul's efforts received support from a group of senators rarely on the same side of an issue. Chris Murphy, Ben Cardin, Dick Durbin. Wow, Dick Durbin, really? Dick Durbin's a tool. You watch Dick Durbin, you're like, wow, how can people vote for him? But at the same time, you see people like Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris, and then you realize, well, I mean, some people are just crazy who they vote for. And I'm not saying that as in a partisan way. I mean, we have John McCain too. People are voting John McCain, and so it goes both ways. But some of these people in leadership positions, it really makes you question the perceptions and the mentality of the people who vote them in. Anyways, I digress. 36 senators voted in favor of the amendment. A bipartisan coalition also formed to reject the measure. Oh, of course, John McCain. Hey, he had to be in there, of course. John McCain, the king of the neocons, of course. You can't replace something with nothing, and we have nothing, Reid said. This is 6 months more time, when in the last 16 years, even at the request of the president, we have not been able to come together as a Senate to provide the kind of specific language that we need for an authorization for use of military force. I mean, overall, I just wish that that Congress in general would start viewing the people as American citizens that have rights. We, the people, we are supposed to have more rights than those in Congress. The government is made up of the people, by the people, and for the people. They work for us. Let me ask you a question. How many of you feel that you are in charge of the government? How many of you feel that you are in the same tier, the same level as those in government? I know I don't. We are no longer the nation that of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are no longer a nation where when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. We have devolved past that. It's time that we regress back to that time. It's time that we go back to that moment. Things will be a lot better if we do. And I'm done.